vendors like Infosys and other vendors. Okay, we have a lot of complexities there where OEM vendors will come into picture. So that it's one team with IT vendors, OEM vendors, infrastructure. So all those they're taken up. We have defined the metrics part. Okay, how the agile success factors needs to be measured. Okay, so what we want to improve from X to Y. Example, I will take all these engineering practices were kind of automated, but not to extent of continuous integration and continuous delivery aspects.
All functional silos which is writing, some of the sales guys will actually there. And both ones is actually good for me. Yeah, in fact, in that book, he actually talks about, in fact, even that video, the TED Talk what Daniel Pink gave, right? He talks about a company, I think based out of Latin America, probably, where the organization was using this standard incentive model for the sales force. And they did away with that. Many of us think our job doesn't involve thinking. So at least the knowledge industry that we are all in, it requires us to be creative, whatever role that we perform, right? And that's where this comes into play. And these principles actually we have applied. The way I went about building this presentation is, when I was reading this book, I continuously reflected on what all we did. One of the programs which was hugely successful, and how that related to the principles that Daniel Pink was talking about is what I mapped. So that's what I'm going to share now. Yeah. So this is the business which I'm talking about. This is one very large program with about 10, 11 Scrum teams distributed, coming together to deliver over a period of, it's a multi-year program. And in this program, if you see, we have gone through a quarterly release cycles. Over the last 2 years, we have done about 9 to 10 releases so far. And the reason why I think this team is successful is because of these 3 points. One, of all the stories that this team has delivered, close to 85% are being used in production by the users who were intended. That's a lot. In fact, in the previous session, Jim showed a slide where close to 65% of your features never get used. So whereas this team's 84% stories are being used by the user base, which is the first and foremost key point. Second point, 90% of the stories that this team worked on in this 2-year period, they were all rated at the highest level of business value by the product council team, which was driving this. So on a scale of 1 to 5, most of the stories were 4 or 5. They were rated at that level. 1.5 years back, was used to a release cycle of put something into production every, so, and in order to build that team, right, we actually used this game called the core values game, which, but essentially it helped us to identify the core values that this team of 7 people, Vision Authority. So, and we used that to generate the leadership was willing to offer. And this was...
And also the support from the client is very important, wherever product owners availability and other things makes the success factor.
Projects that enter your portfolio, staffing them, getting them kicked off, execution, product, and heard and started adopting Agile. There are multiple reasons there, we won't be getting into that. Also, I mean, if some of you were here in the past session, you must have heard that Geeta, she mentioned she's from Infosys, and the Agile evangelist in her team, in the past 1 year, she had to entertain somewhere around 60 to 80 clients who were looking forward to move with Agile. So that really explains how fast the Indian Agile adoption industry is moving. Also, one other statistics that I wanted to share, this is from ThoughtWorks Agile Adoption India Survey 2011, so it's a couple of years old. But one thing that I wanted to share here was that out of the 770 odd people who had responded, about 39% was from Indian MNCs. So basically, the decision makers, the power holders were all in India in this case. And about 16% was from government and public sector. These were two interesting stats that I thought I'll share with you. So moving forward, what are the myths surrounding Agile adoption in India? Like when Agile adoption fails, what are the points regarding Indian culture that come. Okay, have you heard of anything? Do you want to share? We lack transparency. Okay.
We are a very hierarchical.
We are very hierarchical. What else?
No, it all depends upon the organization in which.
Correct. So we'll come to that also. Is it regional culture? Is it organizational culture? We'll come to that also.
Frequent job changes.
Job changes. Okay, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that. But yeah, good point.
We are shy to stand out. We are shy to stand out.
We are shy to stand out.
So we don't have a questioning mind. We just want to move with the curve.
Correct. So we don't challenge the set processes. We just want to move ahead. Okay, here are the few things that I have heard, and I thought we could discuss that, debate that. We cannot be self-organized. Indians need direction. Okay, so if there's a Kanban board, we won't go and pull stories. Somebody will have to come and tell us this is what you need to do. Hierarchy, we heard that. We don't know how to have fun at work. We don't feel empowered enough to take decisions. We don't know how to say no. And one last thing which stood out for me, actually, this was the point on which we had maximum debate, I think, in Vibhu's class. I don't think he is here right now. Which is Scrum Master. Not many people want to take up the role of Scrum Master because it is more of a servant leader. And I'll share an interesting anecdote about this, but the term servant has negative connotations. And I don't want to be doing the role of a servant leader.
I think we already talked about the specialized skill set. So this is about the distributed teams. So it's a 5.5 hours time difference between the three teams. And imagine the public holidays in India on the other location. And initially there was a big challenge in achieving collective ownership. So the initial 4-5 iterations, like forget about collective ownership. Like the people doesn't know where to pick the work from. So it was such a chaotic situation. Okay, so then we started feeling, okay, Scrum is good, but we need to adopt some of the lean principles on top of our Scrum environment to make it a Scrum plan. And at that point, so we need to have a release plan so that we had a release plan in 2 iterations, each iteration and then started in because it was required for the business to know that, okay, when we will be able to move this platform out, so before the existing license for the platform expires. Okay. So this is our definition of Scrum plan. So basically, we need to have time boxing and then we need to have workflow. So we mixed these both and then we ended up doing Scrum plan. Okay. So actually at that time, we never thought anything about Scrum plan, the word itself. Like we started applying these principles and then now the project is over and then now I am presenting the case study. Now I name it as Scrum plan. Okay. So but when we started implementing the flow, we never thought of any methods. We just thought, okay, we need to have a flow in the team, and that's how we landed into Scrum plan. Okay. So what we did to address the communication gap and the workflow, so we just created a workflow. It's maybe similar to the value stream map that John was talking about in the morning. Okay. So we created the value stream map, how the work flows between the various team members, like from HTML developer to the BA to the developer, then the tester, and then finally product owner. So we visualize the flow of work. Okay. So then we created these states, different states. So from the backlog, it will be in a new state. Then the HTML developer and the BA has to work together, and then it will be in an analysis phase. So then it will be moved to ready for development. Then if it is moved to this stage, then developer knows that there is some work for him. He will pull this work to him. So we implemented a kind of a pull system there. And then since it's a distributed environment, we need to have a ALM too. So we were using Mingle in this particular project. So we defined these different states in the user story status. So we have different parameters in toolkit. So I'll just show you a snapshot of the tool data. And then once it is the development is done, he will move it to this stage in the tool. And the testers, if they are in other location, they will know that there is some work for them to be picked up. So we created this flow and then the pull system. And then it solved some of the communication gaps within the team. So from iteration 6, 7 onwards, okay, all people had some work with them. The flow of tasks from different roles are happening properly. But one issue still we had is that we couldn't complete this story within one iteration. That is again against the pure agile concepts, but we couldn't achieve that because there was a handover of work between several different specialized people. So during the startup meeting, members from both the Scrum teams used to gather together. So we had a WebEx sessions, and we had a video conference facility set up in our post office. So we meet face to face between all three locations.
That means you have multiple scrums and all these scrums used to meet for daily stand-up meeting.
There's only 2 teams.
16 members used to, for the stand-up meeting, both the scrums were there, right?
Yeah, both of them. Because it was the same week of project, right? So we didn't want to have 2 separate, like we didn't want to go too much more. Because of the same week of project, only the work was divided based on some conferences and stuff.
And you decide the dependency between the two scrums. That was there.
Together with the people. The term servant leader was not coined then, but the Scrum Master as a servant leader, this kind of philosophy was probably around even then. Are we empowered to make decisions? Many times I hear this, the issue that the product owner or the sponsor is sitting a day, we will wait for the product owner to come, and then in the evening when we have calls, we'll make decisions and we'll move forward. Okay. Is that, and in the battle Lakshman is injured. Lakshman is Ram's brother. After he reached there, at the mountain is Dronagiri. So after he reaches Dronagiri in Himalayas, he realizes, oh, I don't know what Sanjeevani Booty looks like. So what am I going to do? Did he wait to come back all the way to Sri Lanka and ask Ram or Susrena, like, hello, how does it look like now? What do I need to get for you? No, he didn't. He was powerful, of course. So he got the entire mountain, and then from the mountain, Susrena went and picked up his Sanjeevani Booty. So what stops us from making the best decisions from the information that we have in our hands, and then wait until the product owner or sponsor comes and make decisions further ahead?
So I'm Mustafa. I'm working with Tata Consultancy Services. Really, my exposure to Agile was really very limited. So I came to this conference due to my curiosity to learn more about it. It was really an extremely good experience listening to some of the best practitioners who has good exposure to this. There were multiple sessions and focusing especially on Indian experience, and it was really good to be here. Thanks.
That approach is given. It's a decentralized That's one more thing. Letting go of the micro.
Okay, ready.
Hi, my name is Nishant. I am an agile coach with Valtech, and I had started attending this conference, since yesterday, and I liked the conference because I wanted to, be more into the knowledgeable about the lean and the concept and how it gets applied and the human side of it. In fact, some of the sessions, what I had kind of, focused on that. So if Lean Summit continue to have topics like this in the future also, I'd like to really be part of it, and maybe I can help in other ways as well. So it's a good job.
And I am lucky enough to have been in Bangalore during the Lean India Summit 2013. I got to present this morning. The crowd was energized. I got lots of great questions. It's a pleasure to be here talking with all of the folks, and I felt the energy in the room, and I've been tweeting messages all morning long. So please check out the tweet stream, and next year I hope to see you here. All right, thanks. Bye.
Okay, so hi, this is Sagarika from Monsanto Holdings. Professionally, I'm working as a software test engineer. I'm working in Monsanto. I'll be really grateful to my manager that he has nominated my name for this conference. This is an awesome platform for everyone. It has been a 2 days conference, and it has been designed for both the leaders and the technical guys, the developers, testers, lunch and support people, and all kind of people who are the present leaders, who are going to be the leaders, who are going to be the entrepreneurs. There are phenomenal speakers are here. We are also finding some international speakers. The show was awesome. Madhu's session was awesome. I really enjoyed the agile concept, lean concept, the Kanban principles, methodology, how we are going to apply in our day-to-day life. I enjoyed the Madhu sessions of Kajin a lot.